Joining us now, NewsNation senior political contributor George Will. Mr. Will, thanks for being with us here on the Hill tonight. I want to get to both sides, but let's start broad here for a second. What's the state of the race as you see it tonight with 25 days to go?
The state of the race is remarkably frozen. There's a lot of journalism in the last few days about Democrats being worried about whether Kamala Harris is concentrating sufficiently on the 7 swing states that consensus is are going to decide this. But then look at Mr. Trump. A few weeks ago, he had a big rally on Long Island. He's not going to carry New York. Today, as you just showed, he's in Colorado. He's not going to carry Colorado. He went all the way out to Colorado just to highlight the gang issue, which might work, might not, but it's a peculiar allocation of time at a moment when the race still seems to be frozen.
Frozen, good way to put it. Let me ask you about both sides now. I'll start with Donald Trump. Here's one of the things that he proposed today. He said, we are going to allow you retroactive to September 1st to purchase a generator for your home, which will in doing so entitle you to fully deduct the total cost of the generator. That's today. Just yesterday, Mr. Will, he talked about getting rid of interest on car loans that are fully and making them fully tax deductible. We already know he's mentioned no tax on tips, no tax on Social Security, no tax on overtime, one after the next. Is that conservative principles, or is that just giving things away to try to win an election? I hear you laugh.
The fiscal year that ended on September 30th saw a $1.8 trillion deficit, and everything you just showed there on that graphic would enlarge the deficit. Mm-hmm. So it's a kind of fiscal incontinence, fiscal suicide for the country. But to be fair and depressing on equally here, as soon as he said no tax on tips, Vice President Harris said, me too. And I expect this auction of tax code pandering will continue.
I just heard Kamala Harris there, the vice president in Arizona today, cast doubt on Trump as it relates to the theme of democracy. But there was a story that caught my attention here in Washington today, Mr. Will. It was in Axios, and here's the headline. It said, quote, "Scoop, some top Democrats won't commit to certifying a Trump win." And then there's this conversation as well, sir, as it relates to Tim Walz, the governor, Kamala Harris's running mate, as he said at a fundraiser in the recent days, that he thinks the Electoral College should go. And he did an interview with ABC News and was pressed about it. I'll get your reaction on the other side.
So that's something that you and Vice President Harris disagree on?
I have spoken about it in the past, that she's been very clear on this, and the campaign, and my position is the campaign's position.
You talked about the fear. What do you think the fear is of Democrats right now?
Well, the fear of Democrats is that Mr. Trump will not abide by the election results if he's the loser. Now, he's advertising, just as he did in 2020, he's now advertising his threat to do exactly that. He said in Nevada 4 months ago, he said the election is not over on Election Day, the election is over on Inauguration Day. That means somewhere like January 6th could intervene there. He said in Nevada, the only way they can beat us is to cheat. So if he loses, the loss is itself, in his mind, proof of the cheating. However, Kamala Harris, while she's worrying about this, ought to give a call to Representative Jamie Raskin, who represents the suburban Washington, where I live, in Montgomery County. He's already saying, asked if he would support the outcome of the election, he says, yes, if it's a fair election. That's exactly what Donald Trump says. So Democrats have their own history of doing this. In 2004, a very close electoral vote election between George Bush and John Kerry, with Ohio a particularly vital collection of electoral votes, a number of Democrats challenged the certification of the electoral votes. That's 12 years before Donald Trump and the Republicans had their episode of doubt in 2020.
Let me leave you with this. There's a fascinating or interesting dynamic, whatever the adjective is that you want to ascribe to it, of the gender gap. Thank you for watching, and make sure you go to joinnn.com to find NewsNation on your television provider. And don't forget to click the red subscribe button below to get more of NewsNation's fact-driven, unbiased coverage.